Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Ask the Experts. Today, we're with Roy Morejon, who is the president of Enventys Partners, which is a full-service product launch company. Roy has over 20 years of experience delivering integrated marketing services for B2B and B2C clients. He's an expert at digital strategy, analytics, search engine marketing, and crowdfunding. As a trusted advisor to dozens of global startups. Roy is also a key player in Charlotte, North Carolina, where he's based in the marketing community, serves as the co-founder of the Digital Marketing Association, regional chair for the Business Marketing Association, and founder of North Carolina Business for Social Responsibility. So Roy, did I get that all right? And can you give us a bit more of your background and how you actually got into the crowdfunding part?
Absolutely, Kevin. Well, yeah, you got it all right. So thank you, and thank you for having me, obviously. My second agency that I founded about 7 years ago, Enventys Partners, was truly a full-service digital marketing agency. We were fortunate that a company needed PR help and assistance for their campaign. They reached out to us. We were able to handle the PR in the final 2 weeks of their project, ended up doubling their funding goal, and they were overly ecstatic with the services that we provided them to truly bring their product to market and get exposure for it because, they were makers. They didn't know who their, end user was or how to find them. And we obviously, being a full-service digital agency, could handle that and make sure we knew where those people were and where to target them, where to advertise to them, fish where the fish were. So we were overly successful with that one and truly dove in now, 6+ years later, hundreds of campaigns that we've worked on, hundreds of millions that we've raised now. So it's truly been very fruitful, not only for the entrepreneurs that we're working with, being able to raise the capital that they need, but also being able to be, one of Charlotte's fastest growing companies 3 years in a row.
Oh, that's wonderful. So it was sort of serendipitous in a way, getting sort of into the crowdfunding arena.
Absolutely. I mean, we ranked for, PR exposure for startups, so when someone Googles that in, we were on the first page. They hit us up. We said, we've never done a crowdfunding campaign before, but challenge accepted. So let's do it.
Oh, that's really great. It's always so nice to hear stories that happen like that. So if we look at crowdfunding, as you said, you've helped hundreds of people with their campaigns. What would you say how long should a person be planning before they actually start running a campaign? What should that timeline look like?
So every startup, as you know, is in a different place, Kevin. So, for a lot of these companies, we recommend a minimum when they engage us to hopefully give us at least a 30-day head start before they plan to launch. Many companies that we work with them for over a year before they launch their product into the market, truly doing all of the surveys, the feedback, the lead generation, building up trust in the communities where their consumers are going to be and where potentially their customers are going to be. So really, it all depends on the startups, but usually months, 3 to 6 months typically is enough to get product feedback, build interest in the product, and then potentially launch with a solid enough foundation into the marketplace that it would be well received.
Okay, yeah, no, absolutely. And in terms of an amount to raise, what is the way to determine that? Because there's a lot of talk about people who raise too little or too much, and so how do you determine that?
Yeah, we've been on both sides of that, right? Where companies, didn't raise enough money to bring their product to life. And then we've been with companies where we've had many, many $million campaigns where sometimes it was too much capital. They didn't spend it wisely and potentially, needed to go out and raise more money after that. So, for every campaign, there's usually a balance in terms of what your public-facing funding goal is and your internal funding goal. And usually there's fairly large discrepancies between the both of them, simply because most companies want to hit their funding goal as soon as possible. Usually we try and hit it within the first 24, if not the first 48 hours, to show a positive trajectory towards new backers when they come to the campaign page to see, look, I'm not the first one in investing into this company. I still want to get my early bird pricing, and I'm going to trust that all the other hundreds or thousands of people that have backed this already, we're all in the same group together. So, usually we try to, most of the technology campaigns we do launch with funding goals between 50 and 150,000. We've done some, higher than that, 250, 350,000. But usually that's the sweet spot in terms of bringing a company or a product to market in terms of the next steps. Again, I talked about this earlier, every startup's in a different place. So they might only need the 50K to do the prototype, or 25K to finish their packaging, or 75K to finish their logistics and shipping and distribution within the world. So everyone is using that capital a little bit differently. So, plan wisely, set usually the lowest public funding goal possible that you can get away with, and still ensure deliverability to the customers that believed in you when they backed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what would you say is that one aspect? I mean, I know it's a complicated thing, but what is that one really important aspect that makes a campaign a success?
Besides hiring our agency, no, but for real, it would be, definitely engaging the audience that you are going to be asking for feedback from or potentially selling your product from. So go out to them and provide as much, give as much value as you're going to hopefully expect once you ask for it as well. So that means being in these communities well in advance of a product launch, providing feedback from other companies that are launching product in a similar category potentially, building up an email address database, of people that you can reach out to, whether it be to beta test the product before it launches or to ask them to help for their support, once the campaign goes live. But really it's beginning as early as possible and providing as much value to the community that you're going to be asking for that reciprocation for when you launch your campaign.
Yeah, so essentially actually providing value before you even ask them for money. Your first sort of request to them shouldn't be, hey, here's a campaign, give us money. It should be value way before that actually happens.
Absolutely. I mean, Gary Vaynerchuk, he's all about the jab, 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 and then the right hook, right? It's like give value, give value, give value, and then go in for the ask.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of big mistakes, what do you think is the biggest mistake that someone could make?
Again, by not hiring us.
Hiring you.
This is fun. No, there are a lot of mistakes that founders can make. And usually it's along the lines of sourcing product potentially from overseas, not doing quality assurance on the product, and spending money on things that they potentially shouldn't be spending money on. There's a lot of pitfalls out there for first-time entrepreneurs bringing a product to market. And, that's the reason that we merged with another company that does product development so that these entrepreneurs have a place to have everything done under one roof, because there's a lot of hand-holding that's necessary for a first-time entrepreneur startup to bring a product, a hardware, a piece of technology to market. And many times those are the pitfalls that they typically fall into. Another big one is making sure that your expectation to deliver in terms of the timeline is set with a large enough buffer to cover themselves, because there's always going to be delays, and crowdfunding is known for that. But anytime you can deliver on time or even early, you're going to have, so much brand loyalty from these customers, especially if the product is as described or better.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. If we look at the startup ecosystem, what role do you think crowdfunding is playing, and what role should it be playing? I mean, of course, we are from African Crowdfunding Association and Africa. So if you do have an opinion or an idea around, the African context, that would be great as well.
Absolutely. I mean, it always begins with education, right? I mean, crowdfunding is still in its infancy. Between Kickstarter and Indiegogo, they've had a combined, I think, about 25 million backers. Out of that, probably there's a small percentage of overlap. So let's just call it 20 million people have backed a reward crowdfunding campaign on the two largest sites on the planet, outside of GoFundMe. So, I mean, really, we're dealing with such a small universe of people that are not only aware of it, but trust it with their credit card, backing a product and not even receiving their product for years and years and years potentially. So, there's just a ton of education that still needs to go into it, whether it be here in the States or in Africa. There needs to be, sites like what you're doing, Kevin, in terms of the education of the consumer, of why they should be backing projects on crowdfunding, how it's great for communities, and how it's great for just inventors and entrepreneurs to be able to try something and potentially fail at it, but at least try and bring their product to life, their inspiration, their idea, whatever it may be. So it always begins for us on the education side. That's why we're trying to promote and create content every single day through our network of sites, through our podcasts and our newsletters and all of this, to just educate the general public on what it is, why it's safe, and why they should be backing more campaigns.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely and 100% agree. What do you see as the most challenging aspect to that? What is challenging, crowdfunding from growing past that sort of small number of people who are currently, engaged?
There's a couple challenges. One, I think it has to do with, some potential bad press that comes from campaigns that don't deliver. Those are always, not fun to read about when these companies raise hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars and waste away the money on product development or things that the money shouldn't have been going towards. And then the backers end up with a bad taste in their mouth. And then they just say, you know what, I'll wait till it's on Amazon, or I'll wait till it's on the stores of Best Buy. And that really can, hurt the overall industry itself. Outside of that, there are plenty of resources that try and help in terms of content sites or places out there where they could be educating themselves on it. But some of the hindrances, it's easy to get online, it's easy to set up an account, so it's nothing there. It's just basically the delay gratification, if you will, of getting the product when you place the order button. Here in the States, obviously we're affixed to the Amazon Prime and 2-day shipping and getting our product the next day.
Yeah.
And crowdfunding just isn't that. Many people don't want to go along for the journey with the entrepreneur, right? They want the product immediately. But there's a lot of people that really want to see the process behind the scenes, before it makes it onto the shelves of Walmart and Best Buys and Bed Bath and Beyond. They want to know the process and get the product well in advance, where then they can tell their friends, yeah, I got this before it was cool, before all of you had it. I brought a prop with me, like one of our big campaigns, bunch of balloons, where we did this campaign for Josh, raised $1 million for him, brought the product to market. It was in every Walmart, and now, he's getting knocked off by the biggest, telemarketing brands out there. Even after we've sold 20 million units for it, he's still fighting all of these legal battles on the IP side of, companies knocking off that innovation. So it's the unfortunate side of crowdfunding, but, again, it's evolving, and we're still seeing new backers come in droves every single day to all of the campaigns that we're running. Yeah,
no, that's great. In terms of Africa, a lot of the donation type crowdfunding relies on the diaspora, expats living abroad. What role does the global community actually play in crowdfunding? So for Africa, I don't think we should rely on diaspora only. But how does it look from a global point of view?
Yeah, the global market of crowdfunding backers is certainly growing faster than the US market. When we look at our data and our analytics, we're seeing a mix of anywhere between 70 to 75% of all backers coming from the United States, the remaining 25 to 30% coming from elsewhere. So there's certainly hotbeds of where we see activity backing reward-based campaigns, most of that coming from Europe, Australia, and then Asia. And Africa has been an interesting case study for us, where we're seeing growing areas in more of the urban cities, really starting to take hold for certain types of products. Many times it's more on the fashion side, not necessarily on the technology side. Mm-hmm. So we're making adjustments there in terms of our outreach and our advertising to reach out to them with products that fit those specific communities.
Okay, yeah. So it truly is becoming a lot more global, though, at the moment.
We're not only of campaigns launching, but of backers coming in from all of these continents and countries that have never backed campaigns before.
Okay, yeah. So if we look at the next 10 years, what is crowdfunding going to look like in your opinion?
Yeah, the future of crowdfunding looks bright. You know, obviously on our side, we get to see it. We see the data, we see the entrepreneurs, we see the backers every single day, hundreds of them. You know, so there's no shortage of innovation worldwide going on right now. You know, we're fielding hundreds of leads per day of people wanting to bring their newest innovation to market. So we feel that crowdfunding is the best way for a company to bring their product to life, get instant feedback, turn customers into evangelists, and then move into potentially an equity crowdfunding, you know, opportunity as well, where we've done a handful of them now, from taking a client from a reward-based campaign, deliver their product, get happy customers, and then go the equity route and have those people potentially be equity stakeholders in their companies as well. And we're really seeing that path pick up steam.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's really great. So the entire evolution, you know, through crowdfunding for one particular company, I mean, that's essentially just continuing to use their crowd, because it's also more than just the money. It's actually, you know, building that community that, you know, uses your product.
Absolutely. Yeah, for us, it's always more than the money. It's truly the community that we're building for that client. You know, these are the first 1,000, 10,000 customers that bought a product sight unseen. They didn't get to touch it, taste it, feel it, rub it on their face, get the experience of it. So it's truly difficult. And then deliver it 8 months, a year later, whatever it may be, get the product, love it, show it to their friends, and then be like, listen, I not only do I buy the product, I own a piece of the company too, because, you know, I'm such an early mover on things. So we're really seeing a lot of, you know, excited entrepreneurs and investors. Even if it's a few $100s at a time, you know, we're seeing it truly pick up steam. So it's exciting.
No, that's really great. If we just turn to you quickly for like just a personal question, in terms of internet resources that you use or tech that you use, what do you, either you personally or at the company, do you guys use that you know, you couldn't live without?
Internal resources. Well, I couldn't live without my people, my staff, you know, the family that we've built here. You know, it's been growing every single month. We're always hiring more and more people. So it truly begins with the people that are inside these walls and all the different locations we have around the United States and globally. So people first. You know, we have built our own proprietary software internally that we use for a lot of different things. There's a handful of partnerships that we have in place with different places and newsletters that we've worked with. You know, our agency relationship with the platforms, both Indiegogo and Kickstarter, as well as a handful of equity crowdfunding campaigns, are very strong. And, you know, it truly, you know, not necessarily just focusing on software, but it really is the people and the relationships, because that's what crowdfunding is built off of. You have to have that trust in the industry with the people that you're going to be working with. And without that, it's going to be really difficult to bring a product to market.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. And if you could recommend one book for people to read, what would you say they should read?
I just finished this book called by Chris Voss, I believe. It's called Never Split the Difference. I did the Audible version of it, and it was truly amazing in terms of the art of negotiation. So Chris was the head of all hostage negotiations for the FBI, and basically talked his way out of, you know, all of these different crises. And he goes through in the book in terms of, you know, how to negotiate anything. So now with my 2 young daughters, I'm learning that I need to, you know, negotiate a little bit better because they're not the most articulate negotiators yet, but they're truly getting there. So I've got to be on my toes.
Oh, wow. No, that's great. And in terms of listening to a book, that's the only way that I do it as well. So I think that's actually the only way to read these days, particularly when you're stuck in traffic.
True.
So, in terms of, would you like to share a project that you are working on now, or you know, what's exciting right now at the moment?
We've got a ton of exciting campaigns. You know, we just finished up our $15 million project called Polygons. And Polygons was a folding measuring spoon. Again, I brought another prop. So Raul, an entrepreneur from India, came up with this idea to make the measuring spoon flat. So what he was able to do is put grooves into the product itself. And basically what you do is you fold it, and this is a prototype, and basically it creates almost a scoop, if you will, for scooping up things. Instead of having all these measuring cups, you basically have this one flat spoon that you can pinch at different points and create different measuring spoon sizes for the product. So we raised over $1 million for him. I think it was the 25th most backed campaign in the history of crowdfunding, and now we're working with him on the product development side to make sure that this product exceeds the expectations of the 70,000 customers that we were able to bring this campaign to, and make sure that they get the product on time as delivered as promised. So we're really excited about working with Raul. I believe he was the first $1 million crowdfunding campaign in India. So it's really exciting to start, these global innovations outside of the United States.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really cool. I've seen that spoon before, and I'm waiting to see it in our home stores and whatnot. So get a move on.
We're on it. Yeah, it's got a bright future ahead of it. We've got a lot of big partnerships, obviously, with the big box retail. They're very, very interested into it, but also the branding, and the sourcing side of it too. A lot of companies want to just put their name on it. So we've got some really interesting chefs that we're potentially working with. And like I said, the big box retail is all over it just because of, the virality that we were able to make that campaign go, not only with the video, but the campaign itself, garnering hundreds of millions of views.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and now the fact that, you actually are really looking after the fact that it's going to make it to market and not be one of those unfortunate campaigns that doesn't provide the actual product.
Absolutely. No, we're making sure that it gets delivered for sure.
Yeah. So Roy, if people want to learn more about you, to get hold of you, how should they reach out? What's the best way for people to reach out to you, and what can you provide people?
Yeah, so people can find me a multitude of ways. If they just Google my name, they'll see tons and tons of pages of content around me. I have my own site that's been neglected for 3 years, probably, just roymorejon.com. Our corporate website, enventyspartners.com. I run a podcast, artofthekickstart.com. That's the world's largest crowdfunding podcast out there. Just a ton of different ways. Email's usually always the easiest way to go to hold of me, roy@roymorejon.com, or Twitter. If you just message me, I definitely respond that way. Yeah. But otherwise, anybody that needs help marketing, period. There really isn't a company that we can't assist. And it doesn't necessarily have to be crowdfunding. We have dozens and dozens of clients that aren't doing crowdfunding campaigns, that simply have products that need help with their Amazon store, consulting, branding, content, SEO, PR, pay-per-click. We handle all of those digital services for a multitude of global companies, whether they be, enterprise size, in the billions and billions of dollars of revenue, or small mom and pop shops that are only doing a couple $1 million a year. So really we custom provide solutions to every company, whether they're a startup or a large company.
No, great. That sounds really awesome. It has been good chatting to you. That's all I had to ask. If you want to end off with anything that you'd like to share with the folks here on this side of the pond, before we say goodbye.
No, that's all. Truly appreciative to be on here. I would love to help any entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, to help them out and bring their product to life. We have, a ton of services here that can help out, whether it be on prototyping your initial product, doing the IP search, the trademark work, getting that initial product out there, and then running campaigns if that's the path for you. So happy to help out and lend assistance.
No, great. thanks so much, Roy. It was really great chatting to you. And as I know we've chatted before, hopefully we'll be able to continue to spread, the crowdfunding and story around the fact that people can actually build a business, using the crowd. It's not easy, but if you got, the hard work and the right tactics, it is definitely possible. So it was really great to chat to you.
Absolutely. No, my pleasure, Kevin. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, have a great day.
All right. You too, man. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
If you are as excited about crowdfunding as we are, subscribe to our channel and leave a comment below.